German Chancellor Angela Merkel came under intense pressure for her handling of the refugee crisis on Wednesday, with her Bavarian allies warning of a full-blown coalition crisis unless she takes immediate action to limit a record influx of migrants. The Christian Social Union, CSU, sister party to Merkel's Christian Democratic Union, CDU, have been outspoken in their criticism of her open doors policy towards asylum seekers, in part because their home state of Bavaria is the entry point for virtually all of the migrants arriving in Germany. Bavarian Premier Horst Seehofer has issued a series of ultimatums to Merkel in recent weeks, including a threat to take the government to court over its refugee policies, only to back down at the last minute. But the rhetoric reached new heights on Wednesday, with one senior Bavarian official saying relations between the longtime allies had reached their lowest point in nearly 4 decades, and a German newspaper reporting that Seehofer was considering pulling CSU ministers out of Merkel's cabinet in protest. "We are in the midst of a real coalition crisis," Bavarian Finance Minister Markus Söder told the Süddeutsche Zeitung. "The relationship between the CDU and CSU is more difficult than at any time since 1976, he added, referring to a major fight between former party leaders Helmut Kohl and Franz Josef Strauss which nearly led to a split. Berlin expects between 800,000 and 1 million migrants to arrive in Germany this year, twice as many as in any prior year. Seehofer is due to meet Merkel on Saturday to discuss refugee policy, and the two will then hold talks with Sigmar Gabriel, who leads the other party in her grand coalition, the Social Democrats, SPD. Out of order. But in the face of rising criticism and declining poll numbers, some of her leading ministers appear keen to contain further political damage by adopting far tougher rhetoric. Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière, acknowledging at a news conference in Berlin that the influx of migrants had accelerated strongly in recent days, vowed to radically increase deportations of those who have no chance of winning asylum. However, de Maizière's most pointed rhetoric was reserved for neighboring Austria, whose recent handling of refugees he called out of order. "We observed that refugees, without warning, and after dark, were being driven to the German border without any provisions or forethought. There were intensive contacts. Austria agreed yesterday to return to an orderly process. I expect this to occur immediately," de Maizière said. Austria on Wednesday outlined plans to build barriers, including a fence at a busy crossing on its southern border with Slovenia, to slow the influx of transiting migrants. In a positive sign for Merkel, the SPD signaled that it might be ready to drop its opposition to so-called transit zones along the border, which would allow German authorities to register and deport migrants more quickly. Although Merkel's conservatives have been sinking in the polls, the center-left SPD has failed to benefit much. Still, the SPD sees the crisis as a political opportunity because it has damaged Merkel, who until recently had seemed destined to cruise to a fourth term in 2017. In a sign of their newfound confidence, SPD leader Gabriel, who serves as economy minister and vice-chancellor in Merkel's government, told Stern magazine on Wednesday that he had set his sights on becoming chancellor himself. A new poll from Versailles showed Merkel's conservatives dipping 2 points to 36%, their lowest level in 3 years, but still well ahead of the SPD on 24%. However, 46% of those surveyed said they preferred Merkel as chancellor, compared to just 16% who supported Gabriel.